When I was a kid, I had crushes on girl after girl. First there was my camp counselor, then Christy McNichol and Tatum O'Neill. I fell in love with my best friend, Amy Epstein. But it wasn't till I was about 17 that I found the words to describe what I was, and it nearly scared me to death. So I took off from Charlottesville, Virginia, eventually making it to New York City, where I became a full-fledged gay activist. I even got arrested a few times, with my camera, of course. But there was something funny about this picture. Here I was, being an out dyke, and back home, I was still in the closet. I started thinking about those gay people who don't flee, but who stay home and do the bravest thing of all. Be who they are, where they are. I was feeling a little homesick, and after 3 years, my girlfriend and I were breaking up. So at her suggestion, I decided to hit the road.
Well, on a highway heading south somewhere to Dixie, where the cotton blooms in the spring and the snow don't fly. I'm gonna rest these chilly bones in the southern sunshine and live where the weather's warm until I die.
My mission for the next year is to explore Southern gay subcultures and to find people who stayed in their small towns instead of joining the anonymous masses of the big cities. This is also my attempt to look at the Southern world that formed me and to recreate it with my camera, this time from my own queer's eye view. I was off on my mission. I guess I should explain this silly-looking hat. The reason behind it is so that I can sort of appear genderless when I'm in the middle of nowhere. Wouldn't really want to attract any of those wild rapists, you know, that go around the outdoors stalking down single women traveling alone with dogs and VWs and working on video projects.
Don't just park and be alone somewhere where somebody can come up to you or something. It's not good, really. I hate to see a young girl like you get into something like that. But you gotta protect yourself.
I got this vicious dog here.
Yeah, I can see.
Trade you my heart for your heart, baby, and give you all my kisses to boot. I'll trade you my heart for your heart, baby, and give you all my kisses to boot. So if you feel you'd like to make a dip, you'll cock your pistol and a root-a-toot-toot. Bang, 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 bang. Bang, bang, bangity, bang, bang.
Since I really wasn't sure where I was going to begin, I decided to visit my friend Diana. She always has good advice.
I was telling her that everybody I know, all the women I know, carry guns, and 38 is the gun of choice.
Okay.
This should be a movie about Ellen travels by herself and forget the main subject. Just Ellen survives a trip in the South. She decided to stay here 2 weeks after. Well, that's really part of her basic training, because tomorrow we're going to do combat training and defense work and see if we can get Ellen to handle a shotgun. And I'm going to teach her how to shoot from the hip. She's going to be her only protection.
There's another storm offshore that is bringing rain to the southeast coast.
Raining in my heart. Since we've been apart, I know I was wrong. Baby, please come home.
I decided my spirits could use some drier and warmer weather. Somehow I wound up here in my ex-girlfriend's home state at a gay rodeo.
On a Sunday afternoon, I was riding around the countryside looking for a new house and wanting to move out. And it was in Houston, Texas, Bear Creek community. And I went by a rodeo ground somewhat like the place we're at now. And I asked the guy at the security guy, I said, what's going on out here? And he said, it's a gay rodeo.
Hollywood, California, cowgirl. Rodeo buggy, judges going actions in the Capital Hotel, 125 east side.
Dave, my buddy here, I tell you, it's not something that you can do by yourself. If I didn't have Dave to help me, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. But when we work together, which he's getting to do all the work today since I'm over here talking, but he and I agree on our training methods and on the way we handle the horses, and it works out real nice. So that's why we're able to do what we do. I grew up in rodeos. My dad was a rodeo producer in the Houston area, and I've been in rodeos, involved in rodeos all my life. They talk to each other. It's funny, I can watch them in my mirror and see them just going back and forth and doing things. They all have their own little habits that they do.
We probably are one of the largest organizations of the gay and lesbian community that actually raise quite a bit for our brothers and sisters. And we give to the AIDS organizations, not only for adults, but also for the children. We've also have helped with the women's rape crisis in Dallas.
We came up with an event that's called Wild Drag Race. That's an event where there's a man, a woman, and a drag. They're trying to take a steer 50 yards across a finish line, and as it crosses the finish line, the person that's in drag must be on the steer with their feet off the ground.
Nobody told me they were gonna have horns. They opened up that chute, and I'm telling you what, like they scared me to death. They were real worried about me hanging onto the rope, getting frozen, and just hanging onto the rope and being dragged down the arena. I thought, honey, I'm not getting dirty for nobody. I've been in the rodeo circuit for a year now, and I get out there and get butch with those little steers just like the rest of them, but I still get afraid. And you know, you have to. You have to have a certain amount of sense to you.
I feel like maybe I'm blessed for being a gay person. It makes me more aware of what things are that are going on around me. I'm real happy with who I am, and we're willing to stand up and tell anyone that. And if they're gonna hold that against us, God have mercy on them.
3 years ago, I was fired because I had a brochure in my desk that identified that I had been at the Texas Gay Rodeo. I came in on Monday after the rodeo and was called into my superior's office, and she laid down the brochure and said, "Is this where you went for the weekend?" And I, of course, said, "Yes, it was. Do you have a problem with that?" And she said, "Well, yes, the company does have a problem with it." And so I was no longer employed.
The riderless horse is in dedication of all of the people that have died from the disease AIDS. It's a memorial for them, for the memories of them, and this is part of showing our respect toward them and the care and the love that we have.
And at this time, I'd like to present to you the rudderless horse, led by Mr. Ron Dawson.
As we're adding more states, I think you're going to see that we come out more to the rest of the world. We certainly have nothing to be ashamed of here. We have something that we need to show off and show them what we've done and to what extent we've done it. And you're going to see that. This is proof that we're able to stand back here and that my association is allowing their president to be interviewed. We've never done that on camera before.
Well, I realized one thing for sure. Gay culture is alive and well, even in the most traditional settings. And what used to be an invisible culture seems to be emerging. It's time to move on now, and I'm going to Austin, Texas, the music capital of the Lone Star State.
There's old Grandpa, he's getting gray. He slips out to a cabaret, throws down his crutches when they start to play. He gets young and he gets gay. Well, he dances and he sings till about daylight, doing the hidey-ho boogie on a Saturday night.
Wrote this song about southern gays, isn't it?
Yes, it's about being gay in the South. It's about growing up gay in the South.
What you brave soul, you, Ellie, to write a song about such an experience. I mean,
It was easier to write than it was to do.
I'm gonna take you to queer bars. I'm gonna drive you in queer cars. You're gonna meet all my queer friends. Our queer fun, it never ends. We're gonna have a happy life. Both of us are gonna be the wife.
Hello? Hi. Where am I? I'm here. I'm in a campground. No, this is just, a telephone kind of like in the middle of the woods. I didn't take the car in. I think I might have just been being paranoid, and that maybe there's nothing wrong with the car.
See, the oil flows through the motor just like it does through your body, okay?
Yeah.
Now what's happened, somebody has gone in and artificially clogged up one of your arteries.
Oh, no.
And I'm proposing, from whatever this other guy's already told you too,
Sure.
that you got some kind of a piston noise. What actually happens, this piston moves up and down inside the cylinder. The piston's going in and out, but at the same time, it's kind of bouncing up and down. When you hit the key and it goes click, click, what's happening, this solenoid right here is most likely trying to throw the Bendix out, but it's not spinning it over.
I'm relieved to have finally made it to Arkansas. I have several people to see here, Isis and Michael Monk, and a few people I don't plan on meeting. Kmart and Walmart seem to have taken over the universe.
But they haven't got the flea market business yet.
I still can't get the United States back together.
Well, that's all right, darling. We'll take care of it. No big deal.
Maybe Bill Clinton can.
You know, Bill Clinton and I are the same age. We went to school together.
Really?
I'm going to be in a state of shock if he gets to be the president of the United States.
She's adorable. What's her name?
Tricks.
There's something in common among the people I'm meeting that's about a kind of creative independence and people who figured out ways to invent their own lives outside of big urban support systems, like Isis, who lives in a bus here in the Ozark Mountains.
I was raised as a Baptist. My father and my stepmother are still Baptist. My mother is become I'm going to label it apostolic, Pentecostal, charismatic, whatever. You know, she's one of them born again. And she used to have a wonderful sense of humor before she became a born again. Anyway. I realized that I'd always been a lesbian, but didn't have a word for it. You know, when I was growing up, all you heard was bulldagger. You didn't hear much else. And I knew that wasn't me. And then my baby sister came out first. and got a tattoo of a lion on her arm and all this stuff, and I'd go to the club with her and I'd see these people, and it's like, nah, that wasn't me. So I guess I went back in the closet. I just didn't relate to being gay from what I saw at the clubs. When I was married, my husband told me that I was a pack rat, but I'd never seen one. And when I came to Arkansas and saw a pack rat, found a pack rat's nest, I just fell out laughing and said, well, George was right about something. And usually it's filled with more junk than it is now, but this is where I sit and try to create. And this is my unofficial altar. Family, there's blood family, the family that you're born into, and then there's heart family. And then for me, anybody who's gay that I hear about, I consider them family, just loosely related family. I don't call every woman my sister. We might be cousins. Talking to someone else who's family, you'll say, well, you see that woman standing over there with the so-and-so and so, she's family. And that lets other people know in this community that she's family, that she's gay.
White lines and roadside signs, white lines and roadside signs.
So here we are in Beaver, Arkansas, a town of spectacular beauty and not much else. Kind of like Bo Derek. Whatever happened to her anyway?
I'm so proud that my life's been good. I wouldn't change it if I could. For travel and reading broadens your mind, and I've read a lot of roadside signs.
Welcome to Monk, the world's only mobile magazine. If you want to directly leave a message for the monks, press 2 now.
Hi, Michael. I'm in your neck of the woods. I'll be at the World Headquarters soon.
Hi. Would you like to come see the Monk World Headquarters? It's right over here. Here's Mom over here, working away. Mom's our subscription manager here. Busy at work. This is it. This is basically where everything is handled. We do all of our subscriptions, our fulfillment. Here's our envelopes getting ready to go out. We do all of our mailing from here. We handle subscription problems. We do everything except travel and write the magazine, which we do on the road.
We'd had a terrible time trying to get banks to accept us. They would be like a clearinghouse for our charges on Visa and MasterCard. But they requested a copy of the magazine. So that's when I got out the razor blade and started going through the issues trying to find a relatively safe magazine to send to them. I thought maybe issue 10 might work. I only had to rip out the first page where it talks about them being lovers for 5 years. But then when I did that, it took the table of contents out. But I hope they wouldn't notice that. I mean, you know, right. They figured maybe this type of magazine doesn't have a table of contents. Right.
Jim and I travel all over America, searching out the weird, the wonderful, the odd, the esoteric, the in-between. This is the Arkansas issue, which is where I'm from. Arkansas has more weird, strange, tacky, off-the-wall, totally unbelievable, kitschy Americana than any other state in the Union. Any other state. The least of which is little towns like Eureka Springs. Christ of the Ozarks is one of the most atrocious manifestations of ideology in practice. This is a giant Christ, which I think is sort of a cross between Casper the Friendly Ghost and Charles Manson. This is where I live, believe it or not. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and don't believe I live here. Me and my family here, and my grandma. My grandma lives over in this little house over here.
Calling all cows down on the farm. Calling all cows up to the barn. The cow moved this morning just before day. You better come and get
What's the fastest you've ever gone down this road?
Too fast.
Too fast?
You getting this, Ellen?
Oh, yeah.
Get that worm
What'd
on
you
there
catch,
good.
Grandma?
He caught moss. That's what he caught.
Okay, my turn for that. Buy them in half, Grandma.
Come on. Not with dentures.
Thank you. This is my 1992 refined, specialized queer Olympic cast for fish.
Michael is known for licking all his instruments before throwing them into the pond. That's why he's the national country fag champion. Lane has now looped it around one time. We'll have to undo that before he actually throws it in the water. This is pretty typical for him, actually. Okay. Lane goes up to the starting gate. This is Michael Earl Lane, originally from Mountain Home, Arkansas. He is our top pick to win the gold medal in Barcelona in the fly fishing for country fags. Here he goes, Michael Lane. Look at that form. Look at that form. That is an incredible throw. Michael tightens a reel. He's got it. What has he pulled up here in a matter of 7 seconds? World record conceptual fish. Look at that.
And where he goes, danger is sure to follow.
My dog Sam leads me on a trail to my next destination, a makeshift animal shelter and pet cemetery run by a 76-year-old lady. It's an impressive one-woman show that may or may not relate to my theme. I decide to shoot anyway.
I decided, you know, that there was so many little dogs that was running around loose and everything, and I figured, well, I'll just go around. I'll just make a little cemetery, and I'll just go up and down the highways and pick up what's that's been run over, and at least give them burial, and that'll give me something to do, and it'll satisfy my mind too. Then Little Hobo was one that walked up here on its own, and it was just barely creeping, and it finally died too.
Later she tells me a story about a drunk guy who drove up one day, picked up one of her dogs and started smacking it in front of her. This is what she did.
And I kept asking him to please put the dog down and stop doing, you know, things like that. And he kept fussing with me. And I had a gun sitting right inside of the back door there, and I just walked up the steps there and reached around and got it. And I said, I pulled the hammer back, and I had it loaded, and I pulled the hammer back, and I said, now do you want to put the dog down? No, he says, you ain't gonna do nothing. I said, you put the dog down or I'll show you. So I just shot him right through the top of his foot. Right through his foot, shoe and all.
Good for you.
He put the dog down, and he got himself out of here, and I told him, I says, now you go to the hospital and have this treated. Tell them what it is, who done it, and why. That was the only time that I ever, you know, had to hurt somebody. But he done some dancing. He didn't have no tune to go by, but he sure did do a jiggity jig or some kind of dance. I don't know what you'd call it.
Miss Miller was an unexpected encounter on a back road out of Arkansas. She made me wonder what I'll be doing when I'm in my 70s. The macaroni wasn't very tasty, but it was filling. I'm off to North Carolina to meet up with Alan Gerganis. The author of The Oldest Living Confederate Widow tells all. He tells me about a lot of stuff, including the new book he's writing, called The Erotic History of a Southern Baptist Church.
When I was a kid, I used to go to tent revivals, and there I saw ladies in wash dresses who were damp from sexual excitement. It was the first time. I was a 10-year-old kid, a middle-class kid who'd lived this very sheltered life and had not even gotten the books from the library on the facts of life. And suddenly there I was watching these men and women with their clothes damp from sexual excitement rolling around in sawdust until they began to look like breaded veal cutlets, completely covered with little bits of chips of wood, in an ecstatic sexual and religious state, brought on by a very powerful sexual suggestion in the service of the gospel. And after the service, the old ladies were saying things like, "Oh, the Lord certainly did give the Reverend Brooks a beautiful voice with which to speak his gospel. Oh, but the Lord gave the Reverend Brooks beautiful arms with which to point us in the correct direction. Oh, the Lord has been so kind to the Reverend. Oh. What I'm trying to do in the context of the novel is to investigate sexuality and religion as they coexist. And stories are about people in trouble. And it takes those of us who understand trouble and who have been left out to witness to the larger picture. It's the people who are entitled, the people who inherit the earth without question, who can't really see the whole picture because it's theirs. This is one of those tin types that you take up to the counter and say, "How much is this?" And she says, "Well, if you like it, you can have that. You've bought a lot of nice things here." There was something about the symmetry of these two gentlemen together and how the one hand is on the shoulder of the other. It has a lot to do with that kind of friendship between gentlemen that you saw in the 19th century. You know, I find myself in this little town where I live unable to see my godchildren because the gentlemen who are surrounding my woman friend, who are the fathers and guardians of these kids, seem to feel that I'm not safe to be around these boy children. I mean, tell me that barbarism is not dead. Now we're about to turn into Ellen and Son's barbecue. Now, the toothpick is a large part of this. You have to take a toothpick, or you're considered a country club snob. You have to put it in the corner of your mouth at least until you get to the parking lot. One of the many advantages of being a gay person is precisely that you're not so defined in terms of gender that you're fearful of communicating across the boundary of gender. And if you have that other capacity, it gives you a kind of power. It's a kind of passport. It lets you travel across boundaries and borders, and it encourages you, and it even insists that you identify with people who are unlike yourself.
Oh, stranger, tread lightly, 'tis holy ground here. In death's cold embrace, the soldier sleepeth here. On the red field of battle, our brave comrade died, and his last smile I caught as I knelt by his side.
Oh, his lips were a smile, and he feared not to die, and his ear caught the shout as it rose to the sky.
Highs generally in the 60s and 70s, even some 80s will be on the thermometer down in central and southern Florida. Up north, still milder than normal, but a little on the cooler side. Highs in the 30s and 40s, cooler than down south, of course.
If anything happens to me, no matter how strange it will be, just make sure that I'm seen in my hometown, New Orleans.
made it safely to Louisiana. Almost.
If you were going to break down anywhere, South Louisiana is one of the best places to break down. You have friendlier people here than any place else.
I've found friendly people all over the South whenever I break down, which has been often.
I've been on the road almost 4 months now. Nothing terrible has happened beyond a car breakdown just about every time I cross a state border, and some loneliness over my girlfriend who's no longer my girlfriend. But my mind will be on to other things soon. I'm going to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. I'm about to witness the secretive and flamboyant gay ball tradition, and this is the first time it's being videotaped for outsiders to see. All across the South, it seems, gay folks are beginning to come out on camera, like a retired military officer I meet here, named Rita.
I've been here ever since my birth, but have lived all over the world. I am a retired Army officer, believe it or not, and a lot of times people ask me, how did all of this get started? Of course, it's almost like putting on a Broadway production, except that we're doing it by just members of a crew. The crew started many years ago when there was so much sexual harassment of gay people that in order for two males to even communicate together, they had to do it at private parties. It all started at a private party. They couldn't find a hall that would even let them do it. They finally went out to Jefferson Parish. Somebody dropped a nickel on them, and they were raided. The horrendous part of it all is that people who were just having fun suddenly found themselves jumping into garbage cans, knocking on people's doors to please help them. A lot of the people at that particular one lost their jobs because of discrimination.
In this state, sodomy is, of course, illegal, which means that a man and a woman can only have sex one way. But the fact is that it's not enforced. It can be enforced against straight people as well, but they won't enforce it against them. They only enforce it against gay people. But the funny thing about all the sodomy laws is at the very end of the sodomy laws, on the last page of the last line, it says, all these rules shall be in effect except on Mardi Gras Day, because there's so much of it going on in the city that they would have to arrest everybody and the jails would be full.
Oh, I live like this, darling. I'm really a real woman. Not. Actually, I'm a funeral director. It really is true. Funeral director by day, drag queen by night. God only knows.
What does Mardi Gras mean to you?
Means a lot. Means everything. Cancel Christmas, cancel Easter, but don't with Mardi Gras. You did say this was going to be on PBS, right?
It could be. How did you become a makeup artist?
I didn't. I became a funeral director, which makes me qualified to be a makeup artist. Honey, if I can make dead people look good, look what I can do for the live ones. Ain't that the truth? Thank you.
Welcome to the Moments of Gay Cruise, the crew of Arminius' 24th annual Gay Mardi Gras Ball. If you haven't noticed, we have a lot of red, black, and red tonight. These are the colors of Spain. Everyone here knows that 1992 is the 500th anniversary of Columbus discovering the New World. Lest we forget, this is the 500th anniversary of the Spanish Inquisition, which expelled, murdered, or drove underground every Jew or other undesirable within Spain, giving us, among other things, a new definition for the word faggot. Christopher Columbus and other single sailors and cabin boys thought it was a good year to take a cruise.
I'm absolutely excited to be in this and be able to do this. It's great. The adrenaline's so high.
There's no greater joy than pleasing 3,000 to 5,000 people. Maybe it's our 15 minutes in the spotlight. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. Hi, Diana. This is Ellen. Well, as usual, I'm not really sure when I'll be there. Right now, I'm in Mississippi. I'm on the way to see this guy who lives in a little town called Okolona. In New York, I lost a lot of friends who never made it past their mid-20s. Now I'm meeting people with AIDS in tiny towns in the rural South. The impact of the epidemic is being felt heavily, even in places like Okolona, Mississippi, where John Blansett lives. He's trying to overcome the isolation that comes with living with AIDS in a small town. But because he has a supportive family, he's decided to stay where he is, in the town he was born and raised in.
We're here in the main highway of Okolona with the rush hour. You've got at least 7 cars waiting on the red light to change, and that's just about rush hour here. When I got my HIV seroconversion news, I decided it was time to do a few things that John wanted to do.
Like what?
Like not be ashamed of being gay. You know, I don't wear a shirt that says I'm gay, but I don't lie about it. And then, and at the same time, I decided not to call AIDS cancer when I got it, and not to call it a host of other illnesses that will go on the insurance forms and the death certificates in the newspapers. I want it to say what it is. It's HIV. It's a disease. It's an epidemic that's sweeping this country. And my little brothers shouldn't have to get it simply because somebody didn't want to talk about it. I mean, that is the stupidest reason I can think of for somebody getting sick. You live in a small town, and after supper, you want to walk out and take a walk for a few blocks down the sidewalk and admire the neighbor's landscaping. And I decided a while back that that wasn't a safe thing for me to do. Now, I haven't had bricks thrown through the window yet, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me. When I pick up every issue of The Advocate, somebody else is getting accosted or beaten or bashed in the head. I was never out in my job, in my careers, and I've had several careers, and I've never been fired from a job in my life. But I was never out in my job. There are so few jobs in this state where you can be out. This is an extended family. This is not a nuclear family. The Cleavers have never been to Okolona. This is Lauren. She's my 3-year-old niece. She gets me outside sometimes when otherwise I wouldn't go out, so I've learned a lot from her too. It's a house on wheels. You know, I'm sure some of us are taking 10 or 15 or 20 different drugs a day, but I don't see that as feasible or practical, so I don't.
What about financial?
The steroids. The steroids are the cheapest thing I take from the drugstore, but they are the most powerful thing I take from the drugstore. You will hunt closets to vacuum when you take steroids, I promise you. I've gotten a lot done over the last month because I stayed on steroids for about 2.5 weeks. And I had to get off of them because I was finding myself at 3 in the morning looking for something to do. Here in Okolona, I've heard of 4 other people who have already passed away who had AIDS. This is a poem I wrote in high school, and later, because I valued it so much, I chose to give it away to Jerry Anderson from Vicksburg, Mississippi. He's dead now. It's called The Change. When we can look to each other and see the lights of joy, we will know love has changed our hearts and life will be our toy. But should the lights ever vanish and again we breathe plain air, we will know that time has changed our hearts and life is again a dare. You can take the left and go to the Trace to carry you to Tennessee, or you can take a right and go about 2 miles and visit the birthplace of Elvis Presley.
But what would you suggest I do if I want to put this on my car?
Just put it on. You with your Texas tag? Oh, all cars has a place on the front bumper where you got yours in. See, all automobiles has that in front. Okay, 2 tags.
We were out in the country, spreading our wings wide and free, learning about life from Mother Nature, doing what comes naturally.
At one time I had bought the notion that to be free and queer was to be in a big city. But here I am in the hills of Tennessee, visiting some radical fairies who've created their own sanctuary.
I was involved with a rural group of hippies in North Carolina in the early 70s, and we called ourselves the Tick Creek Tribe. So that was a mixed group of men and women, gay and straight people both. And we had come out of the anti-war movement and the rural back to the land movement of the late 60s and early 70s.
Short Mountain Sanctuary is a fairyland trust, lesbian and gay safe space here on the planet. Milo was fond of saying over the years one of our best crops on these 200 wooded acres that we have is oxygen for the planet. But besides that, we also have gardens where we work towards self-sufficiency. We have goats, and we have lots of people who come here throughout the course of a year for short or longer times, getting their own lives, finding a little peace in their lives, getting to understand what it means to live in the country, helping us in this endeavor, which again is creating sanctuary for lesbians and gay people. We have gatherings here twice a year. The spring gathering always happens over May Day. We always have a great maypole ritual, harkening back to the nature religions of the Eastern European traditions and the Western European traditions.
So I guess it's a group of men who are just, I think, in a very radical, fundamental way, challenging assumptions about what it means to be a man and how that fits into the whole way society structures gender. Drag, I'm sure, is a controversial topic. It's really just fantastic clothing. It just happens to be skirts and beads and dresses and makeup and things that we normally in this society associate with women. But in other words, rather than being an insult against women or any criticism of femininity or something, it's a way to break down the whole gender dichotomy in society.
That will only happen when the fairies sing.
Finally hitting the road after 2.5 weeks.
I can say a lot about gay people. A lot of people runs over them. They're not a violent person at all. They believe in harmony.
Jim?
Yeah, what, hon?
What do you think about...
Would you marry me?
Would I marry you? You know I'm gay.
I don't give a damn. I'm gay, too. Look how happy I am. We're all gay.
It's just that I like girls. Just plain girls. I like girls. Any kind of girl. I like girls. Yeah, I like girls.
This is a women's festival, and it is the festival of choice for lesbians in the United States. There are many festivals, there are many women, but many of us choose to come to Rhythm Fest here in Cloudland, Georgia. Note the clouds, note the land. here's where we are.
We have a 300-woman workforce here, and it's everything from serving the breakfasts in the morning, to emptying the trash and recycling, to sitting here at security on front gate.
I do childcare here, so I take care of the kids, and they're wonderful. I have a lot of friends. I come here every year, so I have a lot of people that I know. It's kind of like a family reunion when we all come back every year to work it and put it together.
It is kind of true about the South. Women tend to be a little more feminine in their ways, in their image, and I like that. I think that's great, but I think that there's not as much acceptance of people who are maybe more androgynous. But
I don't have that problem.
Yeah, you don't have that problem.
I'm 43 years old, and I am in a rock band, and let me tell you, it is the way to be over 40.
Strap-ons, turn-ons, I don't care. Whatever it takes to get you there. Behind closed doors, it's anyone's guess. As long as you agree, and I say yes. Anal, oral, vaginal too, and also rational when I love you. I know what I wanna do behind closed doors.
We need to organize, and that's exactly what's going on. People are beginning to organize around getting rid of sodomy laws, discrimination laws. So there's this term called the New South, and I think a lot of what was going on is contributing to the notion that there is a New South that's arising, and a lot of lesbians and gays want to be a part of that.
The really cool thing about Chance, who I'm going to see during Atlanta's Gay Pride, is that at 16 she's a totally out, totally proud young lesbian.
What do I love most about being queer? I guess being able to, like, be honest about who I am, and, like, if people have a problem with it, being able to say, like, well, tough shit, you know? I don't know. Plus, you know, the women are an added perk, you know? Definitely a little added perk over there. We talk about year-long pride and, like, gay pride and, like, what it really means and everything, but it's about seeing the entire community, you know, together. Most of it anyways.
And this is like our chance to be here and to like show that we're doing things. This isn't a New York thing. This is not San Francisco. This is Atlanta, Georgia. And no, you don't have to pack up and move to San Francisco to be gay.
Like, I'm 16 now, and I started coming out when I was 13. And I guess it was right before I turned 14. Mondays and Tuesday afternoons, I work at Karis, which is the local feminist bookstore. And it's really a dyke bookstore, but they call it a feminist bookstore. And so that's pretty much all that I do. And then the rest of the week, I just go to school and screw around and sometimes do some average teenage things.
Like what?
Well, hang out with friends, go to public restaurants and have food fights and get kicked out. You know, average stuff like that.
Do you know how I could get to Gaston?
Yeah, you go straight up this road, and at the end of it, you turn right, and you're in Gaston.
That's all? Is Gaston famous for anything interesting?
Yeah, it's the most American city for being clean and stuff. They have they got the biggest flag in America.
Payback, that's what they call payback. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, you want to do it again just in case?
I'm with you.
Okay.
There we go.
Well, hi, there's just a little soap opera unfolding at the payphone.
It's because of this. It's a good work. Drifter done that.
It's a beautiful tattoo.
It is, but not on a woman, it ain't.
Sure it is.
I don't think so.
Coming to Alabama, oh yes. Coming to Alabama, oh yes.
I'm still not sure exactly where I'm going, in the bigger sense. But I have one more stop, to see James Cox, a gay minister with roots in the civil rights movement.
This is Jasper. This is my home. I can remember when the Ku Klux Klan used to meet right out here in the open, and blacks knew better than even come by here. But this town has had a lot of heartaches for me, because even when I was in high school, when we integrated, because before we were always in a black school and the whites was in the white school, but then we integrated, and I've started to become friends with white girls and boys and their teachers. And I got invited to one of the local churches to sing, because they always used to love to hear me sing and love my voice. Now, this is a church that hadn't had any blacks, you know, like sitting up on their pews. And there were some jealous white men that didn't like me associating with this church or going to this church. And I'm not saying it was the church members that did it, but one night when I was getting off from work, I was an orderly then, and I worked at one of the local hospitals. And one night when I got off from work, there was a white guy in the back of my car laying down, and this guy put a gun to my head about 11 or 12 o'clock at night and told me to drive where he tells me to drive. And I really thought he was going to kill me, but I drove up to the lake like he asked me to. And up there were some other white men waiting, you know, on us to get there. And what they did, they beat me up real bad. I mean, they kept beating on me until I finally just had to pretend like I was knocked out. They took me and threw me in my car and pushed the car over the cliff down into this lake. But God was with me. They didn't get rid of me. And I continued to go. And eventually, this denomination merged with the Black Methodist Church to create what is now called the United Methodist Church. Something happened, and now I know He touched me and made me whole.
I have had some struggles. I've been in some issues, not only dealing with civil rights issues, with racism, but even just my mere identity. Why can I not be free within myself? Why do I have to be something that I'm not? I'm a gay man, and I'm happy with that today, because I can be free enough to speak about it. And dealing in some civil rights issues with my father, who has a park named after him in Jasper. And my father fought hard and gave his life in civil rights struggles. He walked on that march to Selma. He went on demonstrations, and he did what he had to do. And I was a child then. But even as I grew up and realized my way of life that I wanted to accept, or what I wanted to be, you know, I always had to hide it here in Alabama. It wasn't anything I could just come out and express, but it has been me for the 39 years of my life. And it has taken me to this point to where I can begin to be free with it. Just as free as when some of my ancestors were released from slavery. That same freedom I feel inside of me, being able to speak my mind and go where I want to go and do what I want to do. This is a freedom and a release. I thank God that I have come this way, and most of all, that my living shall not be in vain.
out the wild. The crocodile said to the pink alligator, say, kiss me now, Dad, and I'll hang around later. We got to rock the night, baby. We got to rock the night, baby. We got to rock the night.